are live. Eric Butler, we are live. This is real. Welcome back to Unauthorized Opinions, UOPod.com. Like, share, subscribe.
It's pure propaganda and it's super cringe, by the way.
An unopened can of orange soda just chilling in the parking lot. I was like, yeah, I gotta vote for Trump, dude.
It's great here, a lot of fat chicks and a lot of screaming.
Your podcast sucks. It's mental, mate.
We are live. Eric Butler, we are live. I can't properly recreate the intro, I guess, on my own volition. I need the automatic recording.
Okay, are we good? Are my
Yes.
headphones up?
Your headphones are in, I think.
All right, I just want to make sure because we were having a little bit of technical difficulties, but it's all on the level, right?
It's all on all of the levels, I think.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, you're the host. I'll let you start the show, but
Oh, thank you.
but I do have one. Before we get to the stories of today, we're gonna have to. At this point, look, we got to play the game, okay? And I want to bring up a comment on my personal channel concerning Richie the Barber because.
Oh, I thought you were gonna go with Indian moon landing, but we can do that.
Not Indian moon landing, but 5. Because look, I need to get better at this. I was swamped at work. That's no longer the case, but we could deal with that later. So I wasn't really paying attention like I should have been, and most of the people in the comments of our Richie videos are very mad at us, and we are the type of Christians that Richie's talking about, even though I don't think either one of us ever claimed to be, some high and mighty Christian. I certainly didn't. I don't think you did either. But you have to take all of these comments with a grain of salt. But somebody is alleging that Richie may have been busted on TikTok for attempting to talk to an underage girl. So just throwing it out. Not me. I would never say that. I don't know anything about that. Just a commenter on a very small YouTube channel has some insight onto Richie's TikTok interactions. So that's that.
Well, we've been suspended from our YouTube channel. UnauthorizedOpinions.com is where you can find it, or just search Unauthorized Opinions on YouTube. I think we're the only people who show up, so please go subscribe there. We're suspended on there for a week, of course, for showing the grandma knocking out the grandpa in a Walmart dairy section, which apparently you can show UFC, you can show hockey fights, you can show everything, but street fights, I guess street beefs is technically organized, so they're allowed to show that on YouTube in their backyard fencing areas where random people fight anyways, allegedly not for money. But we can't comment on grandma TKOing grandpa, then getting back on her motorized cart with the case of water on it. That got suspended, and we won't be able to post on there until next weekend, unfortunately. So subscribe wherever you're watching, please. If you're listening on audio, hop over when you get a chance on your phone. You can just type in unauthorizedopinions.com to get there, or just uopod.com to get there, and it'll take you right to all of our stuff. And we're piling on here that we're piling on the hate, the Richie the Barber hate, the burner hate that Eric gets, and then the Indian moon landing. I mean, everything we said on the Indian moon landing, we said that wasn't even our opinion. Now there have been
Tiffany Gomez as well.
Yes, we are just because we're the ones who are willing to say what other people won't say doesn't make us the bad guys. I mean, if things weren't as obvious as they were in certain situations, we wouldn't have to say any of these things. But also, we always say that we could be wrong. So getting mad at us because Richie the Barber's cameras get blown out by mysterious forces, or Eric thinks that Burner may have been involved in things before, or I think that the Indian lunar landing is just, the greatest thing ever, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And we get these comments that are along the lines of, well, that's a video graphic of what's supposed to happen. I hope so, but I would also like to see the real footage. I mean, in 1969, Eric, we had a live feed to our televisions, because I was alive back then, a live feed to our televisions plus audio signal in 1969. So I would think that in Indy in 2023, we could have, a camera on board the lunar landing showing its landing live. But who am I? I'm no scientician, as they say on The Simpsons.
Yeah, or Doctorb. Like
The B is for bargain.
Yeah, well, look, what I, would this be our show if I didn't just say it's all fake, right? We'll just
No, it would not be.
So, it's also funny, and we'll move on after this, but it's so funny how it takes a matter of minutes, maybe even seconds, for people to immediately, so predictably, just say, "Oh, that's not Tiffany. That's not her."
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like you couldn't even write it better. Like the clip is up there for 5 minutes, bro, and people that every single one. There's no, I don't. Okay, I have to go back and look at it now, but a good 90% of the, I don't know, 10 or so comments, so 9 out of 10 are just saying that's not really her, which begs the question: what's the point of a fake plain lady? I don't know. Honest question. What's the point of?
She dug too deep. She realized that the elitists are after her. Specifically, they were going after, 38-year-old marketing executives in Texas who know too much. This is like, it's like the dream of every, conspiracy theorist girl. You know some, I know some, where they're posting all these things on Instagrams all the time. Instagrams, all of them. This is my George Bush on the internets. But it's the dream of every conspiracy girl in their 30s for the government to come after them and censor them in some way, shape, or form because they know too much. They've dug too deep into the paranormal and secret society conspiracies that the government has now replaced them for maybe or maybe not being drunk on an airplane. Nobody knows.
I mean, look, I think, I still say shout out to Tiffany. She has not replied to my DMs, but the door is open. Yeah, she, whenever she's ready, I'll be here. And I also want to say that this sort of reminds me, and maybe this is apples to oranges, of those guys. Remember we were back in like the Toronto Times Square or whatever you call it. What was it where we were at talking to people?
Young and Dundas Square.
Yes. The guys. And do you remember there was like some like pot dealers, like Jay and Silent Bob type of guys off to the side, and they like didn't want to be on camera because we were going to just expose them and like
yeah.
What nobody. Okay, bro. Like you guys are like selling weed, probably. Like it's just weird. Like no, you're not that important. Right?
It's the cool guy thing to do now. Is to be like, oh, I don't want to be on camera. Like, I watched this young YouTuber named Loaf. I think he's pretty funny, Lofe. And he goes into these places and they're just like, are you filming me? And it's like, do you need to limit your exposure for your fame here, Burger King employee? Is that what's going on?
Isn't he the guy who says, no, I'm not filming, I'm shooting a 38 frames per second or whatever
exactly,
it is?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's a very nice young boy. Out of Minnesota, which is pretty much Canada, if you ask me. So the theme of today's episode is everything's being canceled. And as we pile on things across the country, we are being canceled ourselves by YouTube, of course. But Joe Biden and a bunch of liberal cities across the United States are, evidently working together in a thing called C40.
I'm raising my hand if you can't see. What's going on with the cancellation, right? So the street fight gets taken down. I get a copyright strike on a different video that doesn't get a copyright strike on a different channel, but it's literally the exact same video. What the hell is going on in there?
Well, as a black creator on YouTube, you are held to a higher standard, Eric, I believe. Gotcha. Just like at Harvard. These 14 American cities have a target of banning meat, dairy, and private vehicles by 2030. So this came out about a week ago that a bunch of cities signed on to an agreement where let's just ban everything. And it's called C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group. Of course, this is going to be mayors who, in some way, shape, or form, we're going to find out that they're getting paid for this. Some companies being paid for this. It's like the whole electric car agenda. I like to call it as the I prefer my billionaires agenda, where the technology's not there, the electrical charging stations aren't there, but you better get an electric car because I prefer my people who have slave labor in third world countries to get, trillions of dollars, even if it doesn't suit your life goals. So it has an ambitious target, it says, by the year 2030 of 0 kilograms of meat consumption. And kilograms is 2.2 pounds, so that's probably their cool way of saying you can have a pound or something like that.
0 Which is almost worse. Can I just say that's almost worse than just saying we're not going to do it? They're saying you can have this much. Like That's some condescension right there.
Well, it's the same way as being carbon neutral, right? It's like we're not going to completely stop flying on private jets and driving our cars. It's just that we will have the money to pay for carbon credits, which apparently and allegedly means that we're saving the planet. You give money and somehow we use one of those new things, new buildings Joe Biden. Have you heard of this? Did we cover this where they capture air and then they do this whole complex process to get the CO2 out of it and then they just bury it underground? That's how they're doing these carbon neutral things is they pour money, and this is where the money will go to buy these carbon credits. You'll pay $1 million per year probably, and it'll go to paying for one of these plants where they literally just take in outside air. They do this complex process of separating, the carbon from the oxygen, which is in our air, CO2, and then they bury it deep underground and they say, look, we've become carbon neutral. And a whole bunch of billionaires and whoever can afford it will do this so that they can, ride on private jets and do whatever they want. Their lives will not change. They'll be a few $1 million short per year, but your life will become unsustainable.
Well, they're going to make that money back in spades in some way, shape, or form. I can almost guarantee.
Well, of course, because the factories will be owned by the same people who will also be saying, look how many great union jobs we provide, even though the money gets taken away from everybody and then put back into their pockets.
Can I just look? This climate hoax, I mean, totally legit concern of all of ours, right? Which on one hand they say, well, it's called, well, it used to be called global, right? But then years later, it's climate change, and also somehow, even though it's a global problem that everybody should be worried about, we also know that somehow it affects communities of color or something like that, right? Like they're always going to figure out a way to wedge that in. But this, to me, and you know how much I enjoy the Transformer agenda. It's one of my favorites. I absolutely love it through the roof to pieces. But this is more insidious than that, because that is just so plainly obvious. Like, we can all see it. Everybody knows it. They walk on eggshells and pretend not to know. This, they can just play the "you're not a scientist" card, and the goalpost will continue to move, right? So concretely, we can look at the photos, whether they get censored or posted to Reddit or 4chan or whatever. If you really wanted to look at it, you could find the photos of this quote unquote gender affirming care. However, the climate nonsense is so much more easy to obfuscate, right? Like, so they put signs up in 1998 about how the world's going to end in 2016, but then now it's 2023 and they take those signs down and they just continue to move the goalposts, and there's nothing concrete, right? Like, you can see a 6'4", size 13 man. You can see, D-cup tits. You can see all of that stuff. But with the climate, it's in the wind, bro. You can't see it. You can't prove anything. So we're just going to go with this forever, which to me makes it more insidious than the climate than the Transformer nonsense, I should say, which is saying a lot, because that agenda is mutilating children, but it's concrete. This is in the wind, so they can do whatever they want on the drop of a dime.
It all ends up with you not being able to leave, as you'll see. 3 new clothing items per person per year, 0 private vehicles owned, so we can't really go 0.1 private vehicles there. And then 1 short haul return flight less than 1,500 kilometers every 3 years per person. So you can take a plane ride, but it has to be less than 1,500 kilometers, which is probably not off of your continent, every 3 years. So basically, you're not allowed to leave unless you own an electric plane of some kind, or maybe a blimp, hot air balloon. These are these insane rules, and they want to do this by 2030, Eric. That's in the next 7 years. So you can't own a car. You have to take your robo-taxi, which they're doing in San Francisco with terrible results right now. And then you can't have any dairy or meat that comes from cows, of course, because only they'll have a private farm that you don't know about. 3 clothing items per person per year. I don't know how that's going to work when there's so many ridiculous American brands out there that make tons of money per year. Like, you think they're actually going to stop Nike from making all these products and all these American products that make their stuff overseas? That's not going to happen. And of course, it's the 1.5 degrees. It used to be higher than that. I think it used to be 2 or 3 degrees. And then I just want to list the cities before I get what you're going to say there. Nearly 100 cities across the world make up the organization, with American members including Austin, no surprise there. Joe Rogan, do something about this. Boston, Chicago, Houston, LA, Miami, New Orleans, New York City, Philly, Phoenix, Portland, San Francisco, Washington, D.C., and Seattle. It's odd there, Eric. You don't see any Nashville, even though it's kind of left wing. You don't see Dallas, Texas. You don't see um, uh, what's the capital of Arkansas? Little Rock. You don't see you see only left wing places, and the contradictions will roll in. As we said, that's 2 kilograms of meat or 0 kilograms of meat, so you'll get your 2 pounds of meat. The carbon neutral credits you'll be allowed to do, and then the contradictions continue to roll across. LA says they never invited people here, even though they're a sanctuary city. Um, New York says, we're full, we can't take it. The New York Governor, Kathy Hochul, says, how come the federal government isn't stopping this? This is the federal government's problem. Everything these people stand for seems to fail, but yet they want to keep bowling forward. Let's ban meat, let's ban cars, let's ban cows. You can't fly anywhere but once for every 3 years, domestically probably. And you have to allow all illegal immigrants into your city, and you must give them health care and a place to live. And they have to backtrack on all this stuff, but they keep pushing forward. In New York City, Kathy Hochul, Kathy Hochul wants to fast track working permits for all these illegals that they've brought in. Why, you may ask? Because if they're working, then they're no longer considered asylum seekers. They're no longer considered illegal immigrants. So therefore, they're not required to provide them with housing. Under their own sanctuary city status, New York agreed to this stupid charter for the homeless thing where they have to provide them with a place to stay. They can't get around it. They are required by their own laws to find any homeless people or sanctuary city seeking people or illegals a place to stay. So if they get them these fast track work permits, not only are they all of a sudden not their problem, they don't have to provide, a place for them to stay automatically by their own insane laws, which they've come up with, Eric.
Okay. You mentioned that these programs or whatever are failing, which, yes, to you and me, maybe it's failing. To them, it's working exactly as planned. I don't know how many times we have to go through this. None of this is genuine, right? So it's not failing. It's causing chaos, which, of course, will lead them to ask for more federal funding and gain more control and all this stuff. And I don't know, maybe we can go back into the article, but if you want to think about, getting rid of cars and how far you can drive or how far you can fly and all that, it's pretty ironic, of course, because like you said, the contradictions are going to roll in nonstop. You have a place like New York where the public transit is literally collapsing. I'm not joking like, you have to wait 20 minutes. I'm talking like, no, parts of the above ground 7 train track are falling onto cars. Like it's literally collapsing. It's raining inside the Canal Street station. You go to San Francisco, the BART train doesn't work. You got weirdo Senator Scott Wiener, who's constantly taking photo ops on the Muni, which is the bus system, and the BART, which is the underground train, constantly taking photo ops talking about how he needs more money. So while they're trying to take your car away and trying to take away your ability to travel, they are also collapsing the public transit system, arguably on purpose, right? So siphoning cash from it. Meanwhile, the workers are also doing all sorts of overtime scams. And then, of course, they blame it on Rona. Like, well, the ridership is down because of Rona. Well, no, the ridership is down because you scared the living daylights out of people, and it had nothing to do with this rebranded common cold, but I digress. And then, last thing, I promise, one of the just peak ironies of the entire thing is that, I don't know if you saw the video I sent you, or I don't even know if I sent it. I think I sent it to you. I just sent a barrage before we got on here. But Curtis Sliwa and some other old people were arrested protesting illegal immigrants at Gracie Mansion, where the mayor lives in New York. So think about that for a second. The citizens, the legal American citizens of New York, have been deemed criminals for protesting the illegals that have hopped the border and are demanding free stuff. Like, if that's not upside down, backwards, bizarro clown world, that nothing is. I mean, that's the peak. you're arresting American citizens for protesting people who their first thing they did was illegal. I mean, it's absolutely through the roof.
Yeah, that's one of those weird things where I'll never truly understand this liberal need to provide for those who have no regard for your own laws. The idea that somebody crosses through all these countries, which when you're supposed to go to the first country you can to seek asylum, let's say you go through 3 to get to America. You go through like Honduras and Mexico or Guatemala or something like that, and you get to the United States, and you don't go through the path. You try to go through the river, or you try to go around the stupid well in San Diego, I think it is, or wherever it is in California. Or maybe you go through the United States again, you go all the way up to take a bus to Canada from upstate New York. And then the immediate thing for the government to do, at least in our Western governments, unlike European or South American governments, is what can I give you? What can I provide for you? You must be such a downtrodden, desperate individual to come here that we must provide housing and a way of life for you. And nobody's allowed to call you illegal because that's mean. And nobody's allowed to have a problem with it. Imagine.
Meanwhile, they have hand tattoos and Yeezys.
Yeah, exactly, and all these things, and they've skirted the rules in so many ways by skipping all these countries, and they don't want to apply for it in the legal manner. And you still have desire to treat these people better than your own citizens. That's where the sinister and belief system where it's not actually about helping other people comes into play. You are rewarding these people for doing the wrong thing, and that's what for some reason this high ranking elitist leftism thing is all about. You want to put people in colleges based on their skin color, so not only are you not awarding people for skills, you are segregating them by their race and treating people by each race differently. You want to award people who are committing a federal crime. And now Joe Biden wants to put housing facilities for illegal immigrant families at the border. So you don't have to stay there during the day, which they won't. They'll go inside the country. But you have to be there at night because their border facilities have overflooded. And it's going to be the same amount of numbers this year as last year. Over 2.2 million they're on track for.
And they're providing them with scooters in New York. I don't know if you've seen that.
That's good.
They're
good
getting
too.
like... I don't know the details. Fact check me on this, but I believe they're getting free like electric scooters in New York, which is just insane. But I also wanted to go like maybe a little bit higher level conspiracy on this. How is that word really getting out? Remember when we were seeing these huge caravans, thousands of migrants there, hundreds of them huddled around a truck and marching by the thousands through multiple countries? That's not organic, right? So do we want to go the predictable, this is, Soros-funded nonsense? Like, what's really going on with that? There's no way those type of caravans were just originated organically, and they decided that they were going to march through 4 or 5 countries to get to the southern border. Like, there's something really obviously quite sinister about the whole thing.
Well, have you seen the literal floodgates at the border? I wrote about this recently, where they have these miles and miles upon miles of open gates in Southwest Arizona, I believe it is, where they have the gigantic border wall gates just open for monsoon season because of water and because we want deer to flow through. So to hell with the security of your entire country, we need some endangered species. Maybe, I don't know if they're endangered or not, but a breed of deer need to be able to pass through these gates for some reason. And while these gates are open for months, monsoon season came later, so they were open for an extra 2 months. This is what the Border Patrol said. You have literal buses of people being dropped off on the Mexico side of the border, and they just walk through. And the New York Post spoke to some of these people, and there was a guy from Cuba, and he says it was surprisingly easy to get in through here. And there's a woman from Guatemala, and she says it was much tougher to get through Mexico than it is through here. They basically just welcome you in. Then they had a problem at night where security guards, border patrol guards tried to block the entrances with ATV. They just pushed them over, and none of them were arrested, the witnesses said. So it really gets to the point where you have to stop pretending that everybody is just trying to do the right thing, and that
Yeah.
there is some sort of higher reasoning, because it gets to a common sense point where you say, well, yes, we would love it, I would love it, any regular person would like the deer to live. Whatever the problem is, where the deer have to cross the border and get through the wall to migrate, to get to better weather, have babies, whatever it is, we'd all love that. But is that more important than literally tens of thousands of people literally breaking into your country every month, filling up emergency rooms, taking jobs from people, et cetera, not having to face jail time that you would face if you snuck into Canada, for example, as an American citizen, or snuck into Mexico, or snuck into anywhere else in the world? None of these people have to face the same rules for some reason that you do. They don't have to pay federal income tax. And then people say, well, they have to pay taxes. There's this lie that goes around where illegal immigrants have to pay taxes because when they buy things in cash from the bodegas, as Jill Biden says, that they're paying taxes. No, they don't have to pay federal income tax. Where the tax man, 87,000 new tax men come with guns and accidentally shoot people, which happened 2 weeks ago. You can pull that up if you want, naysayers. They don't have to face that, but you do. And then people say, well, some of them do pay income tax. Well, then that's because they've stolen the identity of some people, or just have a fake social security number. So all these crimes that that have to be done, breaking into the country, gaining a fake social security number, illegally getting hired despite having crimes that you couldn't get, where you couldn't get hired if you had a breaking and entering crime. Probably you wouldn't get hired by a department store. You can't get into Canada if you have a federal offense. Steve Will Do It can't get into Canada.
You can't get into Canada if you have a DUI.
Exactly. But all these rules go by the wayside if it's for some reason a federal criminal from a different country.
Sort of,
it doesn't make any sense.
Reminds me of that time. There was that time when you weren't supposed to leave your house because there was a deadly thing floating around in the air. But then
that was a tornado. It was the movie. It was the movie Twister with Helen Hunt.
The guy in Minneapolis died, and then we were all. It was a weird time. It was a weird time.
But yeah, then you could go out. I re-saw that article. I reread it, I should say. One of the Washington Post articles where the George Floyd protests were now justified, even though it was lockdowns. It's when your civil rights are on the line, for somehow in some way, from George Floyd, rest in peace, most attractive man in the world. When your civil rights are on the line, then it's okay to gather in untold numbers for a party in the streets, because that's what all these things are. They end up being parties. The chop zone in Seattle.
Look. I'm gonna get triggered. We know the story. If there's anybody watching who doesn't know the story, I'll be glad to retell it. But
okay. The other thing being banned, the Biden administration loves the bans on things in your home. New York also loves it, where you can't do gas stoves, and all new buildings will be retrofitted with that. Same thing goes in San Francisco. But now they want to crack down on ceiling fans. I'm not sure why. It's the latest target, says Fox Business, during the green agenda. And the Department of Energy is proposing a rule that would require ceiling fans to be more energy efficient, arguing the move would save U.S. households on energy costs. I don't get it, Eric. You can pay for carbon credits and there's a carbon tax, but they have a problem with you just paying more energy for your house. The idea and the motive behind it is so clear. It's even when it is green energy that they consider it, which is just electric energy for some reason. Clean energy is now just anything that isn't gas, as if nuclear energy doesn't have waste, wind energy doesn't have all these parts that fall on the ground, etc. Solar energy is now, I shouldn't say now, but on the other hand, when you're just paying for your electricity, They want you to put these inhibitors on it. They want you to stop the flow of your water in your shower. And now you can't just leave a ceiling fan on for as long as you want and pay the 30 cents extra that it takes to power that. It's like a light bulb. They
Wouldn't
took away
ceiling
the
fan be
light
better
bulbs,
than
Eric.
well, they did, right? They did.
Exactly.
Okay, but wouldn't the ceiling fan be better than running the AC all day?
Exactly. According to the Energy Department's analysis, the new rules would have saved households $39 over the lifespan of the new energy efficient fan. However, the cost to manufacturers associated with the increased equipment will total $86.6 million per year, the department said. Republicans on the House Committee on Small Business say if the rule goes into effect, it could put a small manufacturer out of business, given the cost companies would incur to comply with the changes. So they say that you're not allowed to spend an extra $39 for the entire lifespan of your ceiling fan, however long that is. No, I'd rather leave the fan on for 6 years, I think, Eric, and pay
Wait, but
36.
who is this fooling? Honest question. I mean, right? Like, who? There's nobody left, bro. There's nobody left. There's really no. You want to go to any of the biggest left wing cities? New York, San Francisco, Chicago, LA, whatever, Seattle, Portland. Do you think any of them are on board with the Biden administration? Not because they're big Trump voters, but because they think that a guy like Joe Biden hasn't gone far left enough, right? So he's getting it from all angles. Who is this for? When you talk about banning cars and banning stoves and banning fans, who are they actually targeting? Who is this bringing on board? Or what's the end goal here? What a half a dozen college girls who can't tell a ceiling fan from a ham sandwich anyways? Who are you fooling with this? Or is it just maybe we can go a little bit deeper into this and it's just right-wing fear-mongering? It's just the right-wing sort of quote unquote conservative news outlets that want to continue to make the left into even more of a villain than they already are. Is that what's happening? Because how is this even remotely what left-wing political dungeon villainy room where they came up with this and thought this will get people on board? Or is it that they know they know so sure that the system works for them that they're going to do whatever it is they want? There's nobody. It's not rocket science, bro. Me as a senior political analyst could tell you that this is not winning over anybody. It's just a power play saying we're going to do whatever it is we want. We know that the system's going to work for us and we don't care because voting isn't even real.
Well, let me read to you what their justification is here, and I can tell you an example of thinking I believe that somebody uses in this instance. The agency said residential ceiling fans complying with the proposed rule would cut consumers' electricity costs to operate fans by roughly 40% compared to the least efficient fans currently on the market. So they said $38 or whatever it is. The Department of Energy estimates that the purchase price of fans would increase by around $10 a piece if the new regulations are put in place, and says that additional costs would be covered by energy bill savings for about 4 years. Now,
First of all, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I'm splitting hairs here. But we can't just throw around these acronyms. DOE is Department of Education. Now it's also Department of Energy.
So I have a friend who thinks like this, and he is the type of guy who says, I've got these great new windows. They will save me 20% over 10 years or whatever the numbers are. So that's why I bought them. How much are the window? Oh, they're $3,000. So this is the way of thinking. I will say it is my determination as the person in the government that I know how to save you money because you're too stupid, and I will forcefully apply it to you. So you have to give me your money, and I will do the right thing for you because I believe that's better for you in the long run. So that's the thinking here. Is you will say I will make it cost more to the company to create it, and I will make it cost more to the consumer to buy it. But in the long run, you will actually save money. So I'm going to force you to buy this $40,000 electric vehicle, but in over 20 years, you're going to save on some batteries and you're going to save on gas prices. You're going to end up saving $10,000 over 40 years. So however little much that is per year, as opposed to saving the same amount immediately. You see what I'm saying is you have to do this in order to survive later on. It's the elitist attitude where, like, of course everybody can afford to buy this right now. Buy this new electric heating pump in your house because it's going to save you money down the road. Well, what if these people don't have the money? What if the people don't want to save the money? What if they're fine with incurring this cost, and then maybe in 10 years or 5 years, however long it is, they will spend the money to save this amount of money in the future? That's my stance. Is you don't have this inherent right to taking my money. And this is an argument I have with my friend a lot, and he's a very smart guy, but it's like, what gives you the government the right to take your money inherently? I say, and he's all for these, oh, you get this grocery rebate tax if you have 3 children, or you get this child benefit tax for childcare, or whatever it might be. How about you don't take my money in the first place, and then I'll decide what I want to do with it? The government thinking, the leftist way of thinking, and he would never call himself that. He would call himself a centrist, which I don't believe exists, or a center right person. And it's, we will take your money and do what's best for you, and then give you back a little bit of it. So let me take $1 million from you, and then you're going to get back $800,000, okay? Because that way, the rich people still lose all their money, and the people who really need to get some of it back. It doesn't make any sense. It's a way for the government to take your money. And they come up with these programs, Eric, that they say will save people money over 10 years. And yeah, it might be, but you still have to fork over money for it. You're still forcing somebody to do something with it. If the ingenuity is there, and if it saves people money, people will naturally be driven to it. You don't see people, buying a steam. There aren't any steam engine trains out there, and I know that's a bad example, but as technology progresses and it becomes widely more available, and you got this phone in your hand that could do anything for you, as iPhones are still $1,100, let's say. There's a lot more people buying the phones that are $400 because they're affordable and the technology is largely the same. And if they want to, fork over the extra $700 for the iPhone, then they're going to do it because the technology's there. It's cool or whatever. I have a PlayStation 5. It was very expensive. I felt like buying it, but this is like saying like everybody's got to have a 4K TV. And if you don't, because it's like energy saving or something like that, and you're wasting money on your television by powering it with these stupid 2K TVs. Upgrade to the 4K. It's just an extra $500. Over 10 years, you'll thank me. That's what it's like. Is force this technology down people's throats, whether they want it or not. And you're going to thank me in the long run because you have to give me your money anyways. So I'm going to save you a little bit of money. That's what they think, Eric. And that's what Justin Trudeau types think. And that's what liberal types think, is that as long as they're causing, rich people and big companies that can afford it to lose some money and give it to the little guy, that it's worth it. But they think that they have some inherent right to your money. And we could get into this with income tax as well, where my friend says, well, why shouldn't the person who makes half a billion dollars pay 45 to 55%? Why shouldn't they? And I was like, what makes you think that the government just has a right? Why do they just get more of your money because you make more of your money? Explain that to me. And nobody ever can.
All right. Point taken.
Thank you, Eric. Thank you. For
well, first of all, it does sort of remind us of that Obamacare thing where you had to pay the money.
Yes.
Because we know we're gonna save you, right? So just fork over the cash. Obviously, we're gonna siphon it through the pockets of bureaucrats all over the place and charge you money if you don't do it, even though the website doesn't work. And now I digress. And then the idea that any of this is going to look, technology advances rapidly. Now, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that a ceiling fan is technology, but technology advances very rapidly, right? It wasn't even that many years ago. People didn't even have a Ring doorbell, right? There's all of these things that are changing quite fast. So for anybody to believe for one split second that the savings over 5 or 10 years on a new ceiling fan is going to be incredibly beneficial is completely delusional. That's not real either. The whole world is going to change exponentially in 5 to 10 years as far as the electricity powering your ceiling fan or whatever it is. So that's fake. And even if it were real, it would be laughable to think that any of these weirdo, creepy politicians are going to keep their eye on the ball for anything longer than 48 hours, cutting the junk off a little kid, right? They're not going to be talking about this in 5 or 10 years. Do we remember Solyndra? Remember that? Anybody?
No.
You don't remember Solyndra? Of course you don't. Nobody does. Even though it was one of the hugest scams on the planet when the government was subsidizing this completely fake, phony technology, whatever it was, energy company or something, was actually based in the Bay Area. And it was a Barack Obama scam. But now we don't talk about it. Nobody remembers it. And that's exactly what this is going to be like if they even pretend that it's going to work. So I'm sticking with the idea that hopefully, glass half full, this is the right-wing media fear-mongering the left, turning them into even bigger villains than they already are, right? It's not real. Nothing's going to happen. They're just fear-mongering. And that's probably what the left would say, right? So maybe we can agree on that, right? If whatever one of these weirdo Adam Schiff, Maxine Waters, AOC type of people wants to get up and say, that's not what it was, or that's not really what it means, blah, blah. I mean, those are the same people who are going to say, well, yeah, we said defund the police, but that's not really what we meant, right? So hopefully this is them just, because you'd have to assume that half of the stuff that's in the news, and I hate to continue to harp on the Transformer agenda, but this stuff is getting well beyond parody. So we have to say, like, that's not really what it meant. You guys are scaremongering, you're fear-mongering, and as wacky as the left is, they're not that crazy, hopefully.
Well, I think in instances like the cities banning all the things we read earlier, I think that's one of the ones where they can be like, "Oh, we pledged to get there, but we don't. It's not mandatory that we get there." You know what I mean?
It also reminds me of and we talked about this, I think, back when I was in Toronto or Ajax or whatever it is. The idea.
Wow,
of,
giving away my location.
I mean, another
Oshawa.
Oshawa, yeah, another suburb of Toronto, somewhere in there. I forget the exact address. I would dox you in that. Anyways, how they say, whatever happened to reparations, right? We're talking about reparations. It comes and it goes every couple months, and they argue about it, and Charlemagne the God says something about it. But what they always do is they say, well, we're gonna study. We need more money so we can study and nothing ever happens. It's all completely fake for the, I don't know.
Well, the hate economy, I think you could call it, where it's like you got to pay this $200,000 to this researcher from black coffee house workers whose names end in the letter X or something, and these are the only people that can teach this program, that sort of thing, or race relations, diversity officers. They got to keep coming up with ways to pay these people money, or else their jobs go extinct because they don't need to exist at all. You know what I mean?
And these are the same people. I do. These are the same people that will. So, ceiling fans, cars, planes, gas stoves, all of this stuff they want to ban, and they also want to charge you a congestion tax. So now you're. Take a place like New York, for instance, one of the few places in the entire country, I believe, that is charging a city tax on top of a state and federal. They want to tax you to drive on certain roads below 14th Street or whatever it is. So it's one thing to have a toll roll and to cross a bridge on top of the taxes. But they would say, well, you want to go south of 14th, and that's going to run you about $20. Like, I mean, it just never
They
ends.
don't want you to be able to leave your home because leaving means you can stop paying taxes to them.
Dark
it
stuff.
never ends. It never ends. I've been looking on Instagram lately and seeing a lot of this stuff. And sometimes it goes too far. Sometimes it, the Maui wildfire stuff is out of control. The conspiracies on that. And this is where the other end, like the airplane lady, this is where a lot of it comes out. The latest thing is the blue laser. Have you seen this one?
Yeah,
controlled energy weapon.
Yeah. I read some headlines or like a couple of conspiracy, reels about it, but I don't know. There's also, as I understand it, another mass casualty event that happened. We're doing that as well too. So there's a lot going on out there, man. Is there enough? I thought we had hip hop.
Yeah, we have more. I noticed that there is an upkeep. A bump in the YouTube shorts and the Instagram reels of like the bad older conspiracies. Have you ever heard the World's Fair one, where it's like they used to have 55 World's Fairs and it shows all these technologies that we used to have, but they burn them all down. And then you sort of look into it, and it's, the fires. It's always just somebody who really vaguely takes a story and then plays telephone with it. I know I'm going to get shit on in the comments for this as well. Another thing that I've been seeing, I've been getting suggested this guy. Did you watch that video of the guy debunking like these fitness people that I sent you? The Ben Simmons one is the one that I have. I can show you.
Yeah. I watched a couple of his clips. Yeah.
Let's see what this guy's got to say. So basically, it seems as his page is like mocking everybody who is a fitness influencer, just lying about their photos. This is an NBA player, Ben Simmons, he's talking about.
Ben Simmons, welcome to the show. Some of these I just don't fucking understand. This is Ben Simmons. He plays for the Nets. He's recently been posted everywhere because he's like in his off season, posting his comeback physique. Here, the Daily Mail's covering it. And just a few hours ago, Ben Simmons posted this on his story. However, Ben forgot one thing. He forgot that in this carousel of images 3 days ago, he posted the unedited photo. What is the point of this?
I don't get it.
It's like Big Ben.
I knew as soon as I saw that that's not how big this guy is, or why would, there's another one I have open here, and the fitness industry, like obviously this is a thing, and I'm sure he's just going to show something. Well, let's hear it, unless he's got something else to say.
But you don't want to get caught, so you block the guy that calls him out. Me. My favorite thing is clicking on a profile and realizing I've been pre-blocked. Fit by Mick! Welcome to the show. So this is Fit by Mick, 105,000 followers, and she is an online fitness coach. And she's got tons of motivational zingers in her caption. Remember, you're not growing if you don't step out of your comfort zone. If it doesn't make you happy, why are you doing it? Work hard, stay determined and focused, and you will achieve everything you set out for. And in this case, what she set out for was to edit and deceive her potential online clients by snatching her waist in. Look how curved the trash can is in the back. It's perfectly straight in this other photo over here. Isn't that weird? And
that one's not nearly as good. What I was going to ask is what compels a grown man who's a millionaire to lie about how he looks? Is he trying to, fool trainers and everything, even though they see him in person every day? What compels a man who's, how old is Ben Simmons? 26 or 27 or something?
Yeah, tops.
Why does he care about how big he looks on Instagram when people are going to see him in real life?
Do you want my answer?
Yes.
It's really quite simple. Everything's
I'm
fake.
waiting.
Everything's fake, bro. So Ben Simmons, he's a 20-year-old kid, whatever, 25 years old. He's completely out of touch with, It's all Kevin Durant is similar too in a different sense, right? Kevin Durant goes out there with his burner account and tries to defend himself. Like, these guys are not mentally mature enough. They're good at one thing. They don't even have a mental capacity to do much of anything else. That's not a shot. It's just the truth. Even a guy as old as LeBron James. Do you think LeBron James is good at one other thing in his entire life? No. All he knows is basketball. All they know is social. They're slightly younger than me, so they don't know a real world. Ben Simmons is obviously, his mind has been destroyed because he gets called, they tell him to leave Philadelphia, and he gets called a coward, and he can't shoot, and that gets to him. Same thing with Kevin Durant. Now, Kevin Durant's obviously a string bean, right? Like, I'm sure he's in much better shape than I am, but he's 7 feet tall and he's like 100 pounds, and he has to use his burner Twitter account because these guys they don't know, even at this incredible level of success and millions of dollars, they still can't get over the demand of social media and being popular or whatever it is. But with that said, I mean, where does this guy get the time? It's like you got a team of people on there. Like, who cares, bro? We all know basically every single thing on social media is fake. And if it's not fake, it probably gets banned or shadow banned, right? So I don't know where, like, this guy have a team of people who feed him images of photos, what year is it, bro? Like, that's a cool little analysis, but welcome to 2014. Like, yeah, everybody's using Photoshop on Instagram. What?
He's an online coach, and your favorite influencer's least favorite influencer, and he's not lying. I get what you're saying, 100, because Ben Simmons doing this, it's hilarious. Okay, we've got an NBA star. He's got millions of dollars. Why should he care about his appearance on Instagram? He makes himself look bigger, even though he's a kind of a wiry guy. That's kind of silly. But if you were out there thinking that these ass models on Instagram aren't doing everything they can to make themselves look thinner and trimmer to make girls think that they want to look like them, then you're delusional. I mean, he's sitting there reading, and I should bring it back up. He's sitting there reading like this girl's motivational post that he had on it, where it's like, sometimes we have good days, we have bad days, and there's this other really weird popular one that's like, that I've seen people make fun of, where these girls say, here's my gut. We all don't. This is the photograph I didn't post and stuff like that. And here's the photograph I did post. It's all an excuse to just post a picture of yourself. So if you're sitting out here and doing a deep analysis of these girls saying, the hardest image to post is the one where I've been crying all day or I feel bloated or anything, and it's 6,500 words alongside a picture of a girl's ass or something, you're falling for it just as much as the next person if you're spending time on it. This is all just a marketplace of who can have guys paying them for nudity or damn near nudity. It's like you've got Snapchat, maybe that's above that. You've got your Instagram girl, then you've got your Snapchat girl, and then you've got your OnlyFans. It's all, and then full blown pornography, I guess, is at the top. It's all this the feeder leagues. You got in baseball high single A, then you got double A and triple A. Pornography is the MLB. You've got all these lower leagues here, Eric. So if you want to, indulge yourself with breaking apart the psyche of the girl who's, maybe she wants an extra boat, and maybe she wants, she's going to sell her feet pictures to get that extra boat so that she can afford the OnlyFans manager to talk to the guys sexually, and they pretend that it's a girl even though they're talking to another man. If you're going to analyze this world, then good luck to you. Again, like what you said, I don't know how you have time for this. I don't know how you have time to go into let's compare this girl's waistband photo to the garbage can behind her, because she's being mean, Eric. She's misrepresenting how she looks to her fans that don't actually care how she looks like, as long as she's not wearing any clothes, because there's 600,000 of them already online. Send feet pics, said guy once on this podcast.
Yeah, open bops. Look, bro, it's a cold world out there, dog.
It's a cold world.
Well, that's why you got you got Michael Jordan's son out there dating Scottie Pippen's ex-wife, and then you got these this new. I mean, do you remember a couple years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, whatever it was, when WAP was just the pearl clutching anthem of any conservative, and now look where we're at now.
We're at butthole stuff.
Exactly, bro. It just does not stop. And yeah, there's something to be said for how there's like you mentioned, there's the glamorous picture, and then the girl wants to do the side by side with like, here's the glam one that's Photoshop, and this is the one I didn't post, and there's like a little chubby roll, and it's like,
yeah,
what can we just like? I remember back in my day, when I first got Instagram, and it was like my first picture was me and a couple of friends eating at an Indian food restaurant, and like those were simple. There was no ads, there was no stories. It was just like you sitting at the park drinking a Bud Light with your friends, or you eating Indian food at the Indian buffet on Geary Street. Like, it was just so much simpler. And now it's every third photo is an ad. It's all just become, I mean, if it's not just an ad, then it's become a dating thing. It can't just be a diary, a journal of yourself so you can remember what happened 3 or 4 years ago anymore. It has to be, and it's weird. I don't know what's happening on my Explore page. Like, a couple days there, it turned into women breastfeeding for some reason.
You're sick.
And then it turned into, obviously there's always sneakers on there. I think you send me stuff, and then it turns into like mentally challenged.
Wow, Eric. I don't agree with that at all. You know what it is? It's all for these girls. and God bless them, of course, but it is just so that they don't have to feel like they are selling their bodies, which they are 100%. And there'll be teenagers and young men in their early 20s who don't want to admit this because they think that they have some chance with these girls or something. But much like dancing, Eric, where a girl doesn't want to just stand there and be looked at in a bikini. Dancing, in my opinion, and this is going to be a hot take, dancing is something that was invented to impress men, because you could just have the girl standing there, a cheerleader just standing there like this with her arms like square, like she's holding up a stop sign on a bike or something, and then the men can just stare at her at halftime. Dancing was invented the same way. It came out of the same area of the brain as a girl
For
posting
lipstick. Lipstick.
posting the same thing on Instagram and saying, look how fat I look in this one picture, or look how bad I feel about posting this picture. It all comes from the same place. And the same place is, how can I convince myself through telling you that I am not posting this photo to be getting sexual attention? How can I stand in front of men in a bikini at a halftime show during an NBA game and not tell myself that I'm just there to be ogled? I'll add a fun dance to it. We'll do a couple cartwheels. We'll add pom-poms. On Instagram, it's, oh, look at the photo I didn't take, or look how sad I actually am when I take this photo. I believe that they're sad, Eric, but not for the reason that they're saying. Hot take from me. Dancing is not real. That's my thing, is dancing is not real.
I hate to burst your bubble. I don't think that's that hot of a take, bro.
Fine. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see whose shirt sells more. Dancing is not real, or voting is not real. Coming soon, I speak lizard, or that's lizard speak bro.
Whoa. Yeah, we might have to at a later date get into some of the lizard talk, because I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot here recently.
You've learned a lot of hisses and
slithering, bro.
Patreon.com/UOPod is where you can find our bonus podcast every week, especially when we're banned off YouTube. A few minutes into the podcast today, we got demonetized for the 95th show in a row. It's probably 100 and whatever episode we're on now, 120th episode in a row. You can go to patreon.com/UOPod and get a bonus podcast every week. These are basement low Canadian prices. So if you translate into US dollars, you're saving lots of money. You could help us become Joe Rogan. You could be the Raptors super fan, which is a Sikh guy that goes to every Toronto Raptors game and can somehow afford it. Or you could pay us to become an authorized person. They all come with perks. That's patreon.com/UOPod. Look at us. I'm wearing a toque. You don't get that in the normal episode. We call it a toque up here, Eric. Not even a beanie. We have made up words in Canada. That's what you're missing. And a lot of cursing and possibly nudity and rap-related potato chips is another thing. Eric, would you like to close on showing feet, the rapper Young Thug, or the Canadian Broadcasting Channel's trans sex working author?
I think we got to go with Young Thug.
All right. Well, I'm going to skip over the transgender person, but I'm going to flash it on the screen. I don't have their picture, but they do pay a person named Evia Shimshan Obadiah Wong to say things like, after coming out as trans, my return to sex work has been unexpectedly rewarding. Let's cover that on the bonus podcast this week as a teaser. But, Eric, Young Thug, a very terrible rapper. We all thought he was terrible.
No, wait. I want to stop.
Okay.
I don't think Young Thug was terrible at the beginning. Like most rappers are, they're good at the beginning. He certainly lost a step. So I want to preface that he was not always terrible. In my opinion,
he was always terrible, and now we found out it's because he was actually just becoming a criminal, allegedly.
Listen to Eminem.
You know, I had this conversation about you with my friends on Saturday because you've met them now. And I said that you think that we went through a list of Eminem songs and basically buried you, but you weren't even in the room. So it's neither here nor there. The unauthorized podcast coming in 3 to 5 years will just be all the conversations we couldn't have on here about nothing. In which you will lose. Young Thug's lawyers request exclusion of goat sacrifice evidence in YSL Rico's trial. So, did he sacrifice a goat, Eric? What are we about to learn?
Dude, this is some of the weird. So, as I understand it, So I actually read a different article. This might have slightly, I think it's pretty short, but one of his affiliates or one of his associates was sacrificing a goat for some reason.
On
And
March
the
17th,
prosecutor
2022, Shannon Stillwell, which is Young Thug, I think, right?
No, Young
No?
Thug is Jeffrey Williams. So this is one of his associates who
Okay.
was caught. So basically, they're saying, yeah, this guy who's been terrorizing the Metro Atlanta area, one of his buddies was caught sacrificing goats, and we just want to let you know that that's part of his MO as well. You see what I'm saying? So it wasn't him, but it's like, dude, these guys basically just saying these people are insane and they need to be put away. I think that's the gist of the story.
Well, it says worshippers are wearing all white and sacrifice goats in effort to bring forth Loa, which helps run the universe and can grant blessings. So I decided to look up what Loa is. The god Loa or Loa are spirits of voodoo religion. So I'm guessing he's got some Haitian friends. So people are going to read this, Eric, and they're going to say Satanism, rap music, Lil
can you go
Nas
back to
X, the
can you go back-
Patriots, louderwithcrowder.com.
Go back to and then you see the Loa, the image there on the right hand side. Does that or does that not look eerily similar to some of the snake imagery in a lot of Young Thug's music videos?
I don't know, does it? Maybe he's a voodoo guy.
It
my
does.
point was my point
does.
was that people are going to think it's Satanism, where it's actually just voodoo, which I'm not saying is sane at all. But voodoo, I'm guessing, isn't the driving religion behind the elites. Or maybe it is. Haiti, voodoo, Hillary Clinton, alleged child
Wyclef.
driving, Wyclef Jean, his song, it's all connected. It's like the movie
And let's be
National Treasure.
honest.
Have you ever seen National Treasure?
No.
Everything's connected. That's how he solves the puzzle. That's how I'm solving the puzzle. Haiti, voodoo, Wyclef Jean, The Rock, the song with The Rock endorsing Joe Biden for president, and it stops there. I don't know where to go after that.
Well, let's
people. Sorry.
Let's just be honest. Haiti does not have a good reputation. It's not a place you go and just walk around on the beach and enjoy the neighborhood. Am I right? Or is there something a little bit sinister going on there? Do you find yourself saying, "Hey, I want to go vacation in Haiti and really see what it's like"? And no, I don't.
Isn't it
think
weird how
does.
Haiti can be such a terrible country, quote unquote, not my words, and then it's next to like the Dominican, which is this fancy destination. Then there's Cuba, but then after Cuba, there's like the Virgin Islands, which is a paradise. It's weird.
Yeah, it's all very strange.
Which island is your family vacation to?
No comment.
They don't vacation to any islands? Your family's rich.
No, what are you talking about, bro? No, my family doesn't vacation in the Bahamas or the Cayman Islands or any of that stuff. At least they haven't taken me along on any of those trips. I think they go on like cruises or something sometimes. Again,
sorry, Eric. We don't go to vacation on an island. Cruises.
I'm not going on any cruises. I'm not going on any islands. I'm just trying to, at this particular point in time in my life, I'm in South Florida, trying to avoid the Slytherin lizard people. First of all, I'm not trying to connect any dots here, but there is an inordinate amount of reptiles outside, right? Like iguanas, big lizards, small lizards, little baby tiny lizards. One got into my car the other day. It's like slithering around my car. I'm like, how the hell am I going to get this thing out of the car?
My girlfriend killed a wasp in our car the other day. It was pretty badass of her. But I hope the audience sees how Eric basically tried to imply that I was racist for saying that his family goes to fancy islands,
Dude,
and then had to admit, was forced to admit, will be the title of the video. Eric Butler forced to admit that his family goes on elitist cruises where children are sacrificed and trafficked.
Oh yeah, okay. My mother, after working 30 years, takes one vacation, and now she's an elitist. I wish, right? I wish I could say I had an elitist pass to hide and billions of
Do
dollars
you?
and private islands. Oh yeah, dude. Oh, if I was one of them, there would be no stopping me. If I was one of them, balls to the wall. I would be Hunter Biden on steroids, bro. I
No, you
would be
could
doing
be a they them.
whatever. I could be whatever. I would be doing whatever the hell I want at any given time if I was even remotely close to the status of those people, right? Because I mean, what are they gonna?
Wow,
How
those
many?
people.
How many times will last thing? But how many times do we have a story of Hunter Biden breaking? What was the last one? Was it the coke at the White House? Was it the
The last one was him. Well, there was him staying at the
some
White House
plea
while the
deal?
coke was there, but also it's resurfacing how he was in 15 different countries flying with the vice president at the time.
But wasn't there some sort of plea deal that got rejected, and then now
That
that's
too.
in the wind? But so
He also had secret dinners with former Soviet businessmen in the back room of a restaurant with his father.
cool.
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So are we? When does the news break of the consequences?
That's going to be the same day that Trump gets sacrificed to a Haitian god, I believe.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
Hunter Biden's charges were dropped. Trump was seen sacrificing goats to a Haitian god, everybody, and then he'll get even more popular with the Haitians this time.
Okay. Well, the point is, if I had an elitist connection, you can believe I'd be doing some of the most wild things you'd ever want to see.
Shout out Papa Shango, the Haitian voodoo guy from WWF in the 90s. Shout out Rumble audience. Thank you guys for watching there. No shout out to YouTube, except for our viewers on YouTube. YouTube itself can go suck a fat one, I believe they say. And by that I mean a cigarette, because for suspending us for a week. Shout out everybody on the audio channels, which is Spotify, Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, and probably iFrown Radio happens too. iHeartRadio sends us a lot of, alphabet, let's call them emails, I think. So I don't like that. Probably nobody listens on iHeartRadio anyways. But if you do, we still love you. And how could we forget Twitch? So Getter as well. Shout out Getter. But really, the Rumble audience is really taking the cake for us lately in terms of concurrent viewers. So we appreciate you. Eric, any other
Perfect.
racialized remarks you'd like to make before we go?
Nope. Just buy my book, New York City 2020, Gotham Unglued. It only gets better with age.
Patreon.com/UOPod bonus podcast, because we'll be suspended on our channel for another week. Goodbye.
Turn it up, Jordan.